Princess Hana stood in the center of the Grand Council chamber, her silver eyes burning with anger. The 12 council members sat in their high seats, looking down at her like she was nothing. She had served the Valorian Empire for 30 years. She had won battles on 15 different worlds. She had expanded their territory and brought glory to their name, and now they were taking it all away. "You refuse to follow orders," Council Leader Daesung said, his voice cold and flat. "You let enemy civilians escape on Torvan 9. You showed mercy to prisoners on Helios Station. This is not the Valorian way." "They were farmers," Hana said, her voice tight. "Children. Old people. They had no weapons. They were the enemy," another council member said. "All enemies must be removed. This is how we build our empire." Hana felt her hands curl into fists. She had always followed orders. She had always done her duty. But something had changed in her during the last campaign. She had seen too many faces, heard too many screams. The glory she had been promised felt hollow and wrong. "I refuse to murder the helpless," she said clearly. The council chamber went silent. Such words had never been spoken here before. Daesung leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "Then you refuse your duty to the Empire. Prince Kyung-soo has brought evidence of your weakness. He will take your position as Supreme Commander." Hana's head snapped toward the side door. Her younger brother walked in, wearing the military uniform that should have been hers. Kyung-soo had always wanted her position. He had always been jealous of her success. Now he smiled at her, and it was the smile of someone who had won. "Sister," he said softly, "you were always too soft. The Empire needs strength, not feelings." "You planned this," Hana said. Her voice was quiet, but everyone in the room could hear the danger in it. Kyung-soo shrugged. "I served the Empire. You failed it." The council began reading out her punishment. Exile. Removal of rank. Seizure of property. They would strip her of everything and send her to a prison colony to live out her days in shame. But Hana had not survived 3 decades of war by accepting defeat. That night, before the guards could come for her, she moved. The military compound was familiar to her. She had walked these halls since childhood. She knew every guard post, every security system. She made her way to the docking bay where the scout ships were kept. The ship she chose was small and fast. She also took something else. A data chip containing classified information about an ancient artifact. The resonance core. Legend said it could amplify a person's power 1,000 times. Most Valorians thought it was a myth, but Hana had seen old records. She knew where to look. With the chip hidden in her uniform and the ship warming up, she launched into space. Alarms blared behind her. Ships began to chase her. But Hana was one of the best pilots in the fleet. She jumped to hyperspace, then jumped again, then again, creating a trail too complex to follow. On her 3rd jump, something went wrong. The ship's navigation system failed. Warning lights flashed across her control panel. Hana tried to stabilize, but the ship was already falling out of hyperspace. She crashed through an atmosphere, the hull screaming with heat. Trees and ground rushed up to meet her. The impact threw her against her restraints. Pain exploded through her body. The ship tore through earth and rock before finally stopping. Smoke filled the cabin. Hana released her restraints and crawled toward the emergency exit. She fell out onto soft grass. The air smelled strange, full of growing things and moisture. Her Valorian body was already starting to heal the worst injuries, but she felt weak, dizzy. Something in this planet's air was wrong for her species. Hana looked around. She had crashed in some kind of settlement. Small buildings made of wood and metal dotted the landscape. Fields of crops grew in neat rows, and people were running toward her crash site. Humans. Hana had fought against humans before, during the border wars. These looked different, though. They wore simple clothes, not armor. They carried tools, not weapons. One of them reached her first. A man with dark hair and concerned eyes. "Don't move," he said in standard galactic language. "You're hurt." Hana tried to stand, but her legs wouldn't hold her. The man caught her before she fell. More humans gathered around. They were talking quickly, pointing at her ship, looking worried. "I am Princess Hana of the Valorian Empire," she said, forcing strength into her voice. "You will help me repair my ship." Immediately, the man who had caught her raised his eyebrows. "My name is Taeyang, and we don't take orders here." His voice was calm, almost gentle. "But we do help people who need it, even Valorian princesses." Hana stared at him. No one spoke to her like that. No one refused her commands. She tried to pull away from his grip, but her body wouldn't respond properly. The strange air was making her weaker by the moment. "Your ship is destroyed," another human said, a woman with kind eyes. "And you're breathing toxic air for your species. If we don't get you to our medical facility, you'll die in about 6 hours." Hana wanted to argue, wanted to command, wanted to do anything except accept help from these weak, short-lived creatures. But darkness was creeping into her vision. Her enhanced Valorian body was fighting the toxins, but the fight was taking all her strength. "Fine," she managed to say. "But once I am healed, you will do as I say." Taeyang smiled at her. It was not a mocking smile or a cruel one. It was patient, like he was dealing with a stubborn child. "We'll see," he said. Then Hana's vision went dark, and she knew nothing more. Hana woke up in a small white room. Her whole body hurt, but it was a distant pain, the kind that came with healing. She tried to sit up and found tubes connected to her arm. Medical equipment beeped softly beside her bed. The door opened and the woman from before entered. She was reading something on a datapad and didn't look up right away. "You're awake. Good," the woman said. "I'm Yuna, head physician for this settlement. How do you feel?" "And weak," Hana admitted. She hated admitting weakness, but lying to a doctor seemed pointless. "What happened to me?" Yuna pulled up a chair and sat down. "Our planet's atmosphere has a high concentration of chlorine compounds, harmless to humans, deadly to Valorians. Your enhanced biology has been fighting it off, but the process is painful and slow. You'll live, but you need to stay here for at least 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Hana felt frustration rise in her chest. She didn't have 3 weeks. Her brother would be looking for her. The Empire would send ships. "I need to repair my ship," Hana said. "Your ship is scrap metal," Yuna replied calmly. Taeyang's team looked at it. "Maybe 30% of the parts can be salvaged. To build something that could actually fly? You're looking at 6 months of work, minimum. 6 months. Impossible. Then I need to send a message. Call for rescue." Yuna shook her head. "Your ship's communications array was destroyed in the crash. We don't have equipment strong enough to reach Valorian space. You're stuck here, princess. Might as well make the best of it." Over the next week, Hana learned just how stuck she was. The settlement was called New Haven, and it was home to about 300 humans. They had come here 20 years ago, fleeing from wars in other systems. They wanted peace, quiet, and simple lives. The settlement had a strange way of working. Everyone had jobs, but no one seemed to be in charge. Decisions were made in group meetings. Resources were shared freely. When Hana asked who owned what, the humans looked at her like she was speaking nonsense. "We all own everything," Taeyang explained one day. He had brought her a meal, some kind of soup with vegetables from their gardens. "We built this place together. We maintain it together." "That's inefficient," Hana said. "Someone should be the leader. Someone should make decisions and give orders." Taeyang sat down on the edge of her bed. "Why?" The question was so simple it made Hana pause. Because that's how societies work. Someone must be in charge." "Not here," Taeyang said. "We vote on big decisions. For daily stuff, people just do what needs doing. If you see a problem, you fix it. If someone needs help, you help them. It works fine." Hana thought about the Valorian Empire, with its strict hierarchy and endless ranks. She thought about the council that had betrayed her. Maybe the human way was crazy, Or maybe, she shook her head. No. These humans were just naive. They had never built anything great. They were hiding on a backwater planet, running away from the real galaxy. When Yuna finally cleared her to leave the medical facility, Taeyang was waiting outside. Ready to see New Haven? He asked. Hana expected him to show her their weapons, their defenses. Instead, he took her to the gardens. Rows and rows of growing things stretched out before her. Humans worked among the plants, pulling weeds, checking irrigation, harvesting ripe vegetables. An old man named Do-hyun showed her how they rotated crops to keep the soil healthy. A young woman named Ji-woo explained their composting system. This is what you wanted to show me? Hana asked Taeyang. Plants? This is how we survive, Taeyang said. Every person here knows how to grow food, how to fix equipment, how to build shelter. We all depend on each other. The next day, Taeyang assigned her to work in the gardens. Hana stared at him in disbelief. You want me to dig in dirt? Everyone works, Taeyang said simply. You want to eat our food, you help grow it. Hana had fought in wars. She had commanded fleets. And now she was pulling weeds like a common laborer. Her pride screamed at her to refuse. But her stomach was hungry, and she had nowhere else to go. The work was harder than she expected. Her enhanced muscles meant she was stronger than the humans, but she didn't know what plants to pull and which to keep. She didn't understand irrigation or soil composition. Do-hyun had to teach her everything. Patient and calm even when she made mistakes. Days turned into weeks. Hana's body fully healed. She worked in the gardens, helped Minho repair equipment in the engineering bay, and learned to cook human food. The settlement didn't feel like a prison anymore, though she wouldn't admit that out loud. One evening, there was a celebration. One of the families had a new baby. The whole settlement gathered in the central square. They shared food and music. Children ran around laughing. People danced to songs Hana didn't know. Taeyang found her sitting at the edge of the square, watching. Not joining in? He asked. I don't understand this, Hana said honestly. You celebrate a birth? One child? Every life matters, Taeyang said. Every person is important. Hana thought about Valorian births. Children were raised in training facilities, judged on their genetic quality, ranked and sorted from birth. Some were enhanced. Some were discarded. It was efficient, logical. Looking at the humans celebrating together, she felt something strange in her chest. It almost felt like sadness, loss. In my empire, she said slowly, we don't celebrate individuals. We celebrate victories, conquests. Power sounds lonely, Taeyang said. He was right. It had been lonely. Hana had commanded thousands of soldiers, but she'd never had friends. She'd had allies and rivals and subordinates, but never someone who just cared about her. Late that night, unable to sleep, Hana accessed the settlement's computer system. She was looking for information. Anything about the resonance core. And she found it. Fragments of old data, references to an ancient ruin. The humans didn't know what they had in their archives. But Hana did. The resonance core was real, and these people might be her only way to find it. As she sat in the quiet computer lab, Hana realized something that made her uncomfortable. She didn't want to just use these humans and leave. Somewhere over the past weeks, she had started to care about them, about their strange, gentle ways and their illogical kindness. She heard footsteps and quickly closed the files. Taeyang appeared in the doorway. Can't sleep? He asked. Too much thinking, Hana said. Taeyang sat down next to her. Want to talk about it? And strangely, she did. For the first time in her life, Hana wanted to talk to someone. Not to give orders or make plans, but just to share what was in her heart. Your people are strange, she said. Taeyang laughed. You're not the first person to say that, but maybe. Hana paused, searching for words. Maybe strange isn't wrong. Taeyang smiled at her, and Hana felt that strange ache in her chest again. The feeling of something changing inside her. Something she couldn't control and didn't fully understand. Something that felt almost like hope. 3 months had passed since Hana's crash. She now woke up each morning and went to work without being asked. She ate meals with the other settlers. She knew everyone's names. Sometimes she even laughed at their jokes. Minho had become something like a friend. He worked in the engineering bay and had a sharp mind for solving problems. They spent hours working together on various repair projects. Hana found she enjoyed the challenge of fixing things instead of breaking them. Do-hyun taught her the names of all the plants in the garden. He was 70 years old but worked harder than people half his age. He told her stories about Earth, the human homeworld she had only seen in military reports. His stories made it sound beautiful. And Taeyang had become important to her in a way she couldn't explain. He was always there, patient and kind, treating her like a person instead of a princess. When she had nightmares about the people she'd killed in the wars, he sat with her until dawn. He never judged her, never demanded she be anything other than who she was. One morning, the settlement's early warning system went off. Everyone gathered in the central square. Taeyang pulled up the sensor data on a large screen. A ship was entering the system. A Valorian military vessel. Hana's blood went cold. She knew that ship design. It was a strike craft, small but deadly. And she knew who would be commanding it. "They're hailing us," Minho said from the communications station. The screen flickered to life. Prince Kyung-soo's face appeared, and his smile was cold and cruel. "Little settlement of refugees," he said. "You are harboring a criminal. Surrender Princess Hana immediately, or we will destroy your colony. You have 1 hour to decide." The connection cut off. The settlers all turned to look at Hana. "I'm sorry," she said quickly. "I brought this danger to you. You don't have to fight." But Taeyang shook his head. "That's not how we do things here." "You don't understand," Hana said desperately. "My brother will kill everyone here. He doesn't care about civilians. He'll turn this whole settlement into ash. Then we'll fight," said Yuna. "You can't fight," Hana almost shouted. "He has trained soldiers, enhanced genetics, advanced weapons. You have farming tools and old mining equipment." Taeyang stood up. His voice was calm, but his eyes were hard. "We have something your brother doesn't. We have something worth protecting. And we have each other." The settlement voted. It took 10 minutes. Every single person voted to refuse Kyung-soo's demand. Hana had never felt so terrified and so honored at the same time. The hour passed. Kyung-soo's ship landed in a field outside the settlement. He walked out with 10 soldiers, all of them wearing combat armor. The settlers stood waiting for them, armed with whatever they could find. Kyung-soo laughed when he saw them. "You think you can fight us? You're insects compared to Valorian soldiers." He looked at Hana. "Sister, you've fallen far, living with these weak creatures. They're braver than anyone in the Empire," Hana said. Kyung-soo's smile faded. "Bravery doesn't stop bullets. Last chance. Surrender, or we open fire." Taeyang stepped forward. "I challenge you to single combat. If I win, you leave and never come back. If you win, we surrender peacefully." Hana grabbed his arm. "No! He'll kill you." "Probably," Taeyang agreed. "But maybe he won't. And either way, we're not giving up without a fight." Kyung-soo actually laughed. "A human wants to fight me? This will be entertaining." He looked at his soldiers. "Stand down. Let me have my fun." The fight was brutal. Kyung-soo was faster and stronger. His first punch broke Taeyang's ribs. His second strike fractured Taeyang's arm. But Taeyang kept getting up. He used his smaller size to dodge, used tools and rocks as weapons, fought with everything he had. Hana had fought in hundreds of battles. She had seen brave soldiers and cowards, skilled fighters and amateurs. But she had never seen anything like this. Taeyang had no chance of winning. He knew it. Everyone knew it. But he kept fighting anyway. Every time Taeyang fell, He stood back up. Blood ran down his face. His breathing came in ragged gasps, but he wouldn't stay down. Why? Kyung-soo asked, genuinely confused. Why do you keep fighting? You can't win. Because they're worth fighting for, Taeyang said, pointing at the settlers. Because some things matter more than winning. It was such a human thing to say. Illogical. Foolish. Beautiful. When Kyung-soo raised his hand for the killing blow, Hana moved. She placed herself between them, facing her brother. Enough, she said. Move, sister. No. Hana straightened her shoulders. By the old laws of the Empire, I claim trial by combat for the right to rule. Kyung-soo's eyes widened. The old laws were ancient, but they still held power. If Hana claimed her right to the throne through combat, the Empire had to honor it. You gave up your rights when you fled, Kyung-soo said. I gave up nothing. I was exiled unlawfully. You know it. The Council knows it. I claim my birthright. Kyung-soo considered this. Then he smiled. Fine. I'll kill you properly this time. They fought in the center of the settlement, surrounded by humans and Valorian soldiers. It was a fight between two enhanced warriors, both trained since childhood, both skilled and deadly. But Hana had learned something during her months with the humans. She had learned that fighting wasn't just about strength or speed. It was about purpose. About what you were fighting for. She thought about Taeyang's broken ribs, about Do-hyun's patient hands teaching her to garden, about Yuna's kind eyes, about every person in this settlement who had shown her what real strength looked like. Kyung-soo fought with rage and pride. Hana fought with love. The fight lasted 20 minutes. In the end, Hana stood over her brother, her blade at his throat. She could kill him. By the laws of combat, she had the right. Do it. Kyung-soo gasped. Finish it. Hana looked at Taeyang, who was being held up by Minho and Yuna. Despite his injuries, he shook his head slightly. No. Hana said. She lowered her blade. I don't need to kill you to prove I'm stronger. That's what the Empire taught us. But it's wrong. She looked at the Valorian soldiers. I am Princess Hana, rightful heir to the Empire. I have won by combat, but I will only take the throne if I can also complete the sacred trial. I will find the resonance core and prove my worth. The soldiers looked at each other. Then, slowly, they knelt. Even wounded and defeated, Kyung-soo was forced to kneel. You have 3 months, Kyung-soo said. Find the core or the council will send an army. After the Valorians left, Hana went to Taeyang. Yuna was treating his injuries. That was foolish, Hana told him. Probably, Taeyang said, wincing as Yuna set his arm. But you taught me something today too. What? That fighting for the right reasons makes all the difference. Hana realized then that she couldn't do this alone. She needed help. She needed these strange, brave humans who had shown her a better way. Will you come with me? She asked. To find the resonance core? Taeyang smiled through his pain. Obviously. The ship they built was a strange thing. Half Valorian technology, half human engineering. Minho called it a beautiful disaster. But it flew, and that was what mattered. Hana had combined the settlement's old data with her military intelligence. The resonance core was hidden in the catacombs of Ash, a massive underground complex on a dead world called Terminus. The Valorians had found it 50 years ago, but every team they sent never came back. Sounds dangerous, Yuna said as she packed medical supplies. Very dangerous, Hana confirmed. You don't have to come. But Yuna just smiled. Yes, I do. Someone needs to keep you all alive. Besides Taeyang, Yuna, and Minho, 3 other settlers volunteered. Jiwoo, the young botanist, Do-hyun, despite his age, and Saman, a former pilot who knew how to handle difficult situations. They left New Haven on a clear morning. The whole settlement came to see them off. Children waved. People called out wishes for good luck. It felt like having a family. and Hana's heart ached with an emotion she still didn't have a name for. The journey to Terminus took 5 days. The planet appeared on their screens like a gray wound in space. No atmosphere. No life. Just endless rocks, and the dark opening that led to the catacombs. They landed near the entrance and put on environment suits. The surface of Terminus was freezing and airless. Their lights cut through the darkness as they entered the ancient structure. The catacombs were huge. Corridors stretched in every direction, covered in strange writing that Hana's translator couldn't read. The civilization that built this place was gone, but their technology still hummed with power. "Stay close," Hana said. "These are trials, tests. The core only goes to someone worthy." The first trial appeared within an hour. They entered a large chamber, and the doors sealed behind them. Holographic enemies appeared. Perfect copies of Valorian soldiers. The message was clear: fight or die. Hana's combat training took over. She moved like lightning, taking down enemies with precise strikes. But there were too many of them. She couldn't protect everyone at once. Then the humans showed her something. They fought as a team. Minho covered Yuna, while she helped Do-hyun. Taeyang and Jiwoo worked together to take down enemies twice their size. Saman used her piloting skills to predict enemy movements. They won together. The second trial was a puzzle. A massive maze with walls that shifted and changed. They had to reach the center before time ran out. Hana's military mind mapped the patterns. But it was Jiwoo who noticed something crucial. The walls moved to music. Ancient tones that played too quietly for most ears to hear. By following the rhythm, they found their way through. The third trial almost broke them. They entered a chamber that separated them with walls of energy. Each person stood alone in a small space. Then the chamber began to fill with poison gas. "There's a control panel in each space," Minho shouted. "But I can only see part of the code." "Can anyone see their section?" Each person could see a different piece of the puzzle. To solve it, they would need to trust each other completely. Call out their sections. Work together while choking on gas. Hana felt panic rising. In her training, she had learned to rely only on herself. Trust was weakness. Dependence was failure. But she looked at Taeyang through the energy wall. He was struggling to breathe, but he was calling out his code sequence clearly. Trusting that others would do the same, Hana called out her sequence. So did Yuna. So did everyone else. Together, unable to see the full picture, they solved the puzzle that no one could have solved alone. The gas cleared. The walls dropped. They fell into each other's arms, coughing and relieved. "That was the test," Yuna said, gasping. "Not the code. The trust." They went deeper into the catacombs. Hours passed. They were exhausted, hungry, and scared. But they kept going. Finally, they reached the central chamber. The resonance core floated in the center of the room, glowing with soft blue light. It was beautiful and terrifying. Power radiated from it like heat from a sun, but standing between them and the core was a holographic figure. It looked almost human but taller and made of light. When it spoke, the words appeared directly in their minds. "Who seeks the core?" it asked. "I do," Hana said, stepping forward. "I need its power to change my empire. To make it better." The Guardian studied her. "The core amplifies what exists within. It does not create power. It reveals it. What power do you possess that should be amplified?" Hana opened her mouth to answer. She wanted to say her combat skills, her strategic mind, her royal authority. These were the powers she had been born with, trained for. But then she stopped. Those powers had created the empire she was trying to change. Those powers had led to conquest and cruelty. If the core amplified those things, she would just become a more effective tyrant. The Guardian waited, patient and eternal. Taeyang stepped up beside Hana. His environment suit was patched and worn, and he looked tiny next to the massive hologram. But his voice was steady. "She has the power of compassion," he said. "She learned to care about others, to see value in every life, to build instead of destroy." That's the power that should be amplified. The Guardian turned its gaze to Taeyang. You speak for her, human? I speak the truth, Taeyang said. 3 months ago, she would have said strength or authority. But she's different now. She learned from us, just like we learned from her. She has the power to change things. Real change, the kind that comes from the heart. The Guardian looked back at Hana. Is this true? Do you possess such power? Hana thought about the gardens of New Haven, about Do-hyun's patient teaching, about Yuna's kindness, about Minho's friendship, about every moment she had spent learning to be something other than a weapon. Yes, she said softly. I didn't have it before, but I do now. The Guardian seemed to consider this for a long moment. Then, it stepped aside. The core will show you what you truly are. If you can accept that truth, it will be yours. Hana walked forward. She reached out and touched the resonance core. Power flooded through her, but it wasn't the power she had expected. It didn't make her stronger or faster. Instead, it made her feel everything. Every connection between living beings, every emotion in her companions, every hope and fear of people across the galaxy. She felt the settlers on New Haven, worried for their friends. She felt Valorians across the Empire, unhappy but not knowing why. She felt millions of beings living under conquest, hoping for change. The core amplified her capacity for empathy, her ability to connect, her power to inspire and unite. It hurt. Feeling so much was overwhelming and terrible, but it was also beautiful, because now she understood what real power was. Not the power to destroy, but the power to understand, to care, to bring people together. When Hana opened her eyes, she was crying. The core had merged with her, its energy flowing through her body like a second heartbeat. I understand now, she whispered. Taeyang took her hand. What did it show you? Everything, Hana said. I felt everything. And it's the most powerful thing I've ever experienced. They made their way out of the catacombs. The trials didn't stop them on the way back. The core had accepted Hana, and the tests were complete. As their ship lifted off from Terminus, Hana looked at her hands. The power of the core hummed beneath her skin. She could feel its potential, vast and terrifying. Are you ready? Yuna asked quietly. Hana thought about her empire, about her brother, about the fight that was coming. Yes, she said. It's time to go home. The Valorian capital was exactly as Hana remembered it. Tall towers of metal and glass reaching toward the sky, ships moving in perfect formations, everything ordered, controlled, and cold. Their small ship landed at the Grand Council building. Alarms went off immediately. Soldiers surrounded them, weapons raised. Stand down, Hana said, stepping out of the ship. The resonance core's power glowed faintly beneath her skin, visible to anyone who looked closely. I have completed the trial. I claim my right to rule. The soldiers hesitated. They had heard the reports. Princess Hana had defeated Prince Kyung-soo in single combat, then found the legendary resonance core. The old laws were clear. She had the right to be here. The Grand Council gathered in their chamber. All 12 members sat in their high seats, looking down at Hana. Her brother stood to one side, his arm still bandaged from their fight. He looked at her with pure hatred. You found the core, Council Leader Dae-sung said. His voice was neutral, but Hana could feel his fear. The core had made her sensitive to emotions, and fear filled this room like smoke. Impressive. But finding it and controlling it are different things. I control it perfectly, Hana said. Prove it, another council member demanded. Show us power. Destroy something. Show us you're worthy to lead. Hana smiled. It wasn't a cruel smile. It was sad. You still don't understand what real power is, she said. Let me show you. She closed her eyes and reached for the core's energy. It responded instantly, amplifying her thoughts and feelings. And then, she broadcast them. Every Valorian in the Empire felt it at the same time. a wave of emotion and memory washing over them. Hana showed them what she had learned. She showed them New Haven. The gardens. The laughter. The community. She showed them Taeyang fighting Kyung-soo despite being hopelessly outmatched. She showed them what it felt like to be valued for yourself, not your rank. She showed them a different way to live. Across the Empire, millions of Valorians stopped what they were doing. Soldiers on conquered worlds felt the fear of the civilians they were supposed to control. Administrators felt the pain of the people they governed. Every Valorian experienced, for just a moment, what it was like to see others as equals. In the council chamber, the effect was even stronger. The council members gripped their seats, overwhelmed by feelings they had spent lifetimes suppressing. Kyung-soo fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. "Stop," Daesung gasped. "Stop this." Hana opened her eyes, and the broadcast ended. But the damage, or perhaps the healing, was done. You couldn't unfeel something. You couldn't unknow what you had just learned. "This is the power of the resonance core," Hana said quietly. "It doesn't destroy. It connects. It helps people understand each other. And that's more powerful than any weapon." This is manipulation," one council member said, but his voice shook. "No," Hana said. "This is truth. I showed you what I learned. What you choose to do with that knowledge is up to you." Kyung-soo stood up slowly. He looked at his sister, and for the first time in their lives, he really saw her. "I felt what you felt," he said. His voice was broken. "When I was hurting that human, I felt his pain, his determination, his love for his people." He shook his head. "How do you live with this? Feeling everything?" "You learn," Hana said gently. "You learn that other people's pain matters, and you work to reduce it." Before the council could respond, alarms blared throughout the building. Ships were entering the system. Hundreds of them. Ships from all the species the Valorian Empire had conquered over the centuries. "They're here for revenge," Daesung said, his face pale. "The Empire is finished." But Taeyang stepped forward, a communication device in his hand. "Actually," he said, "they're here because I called them. I told them Hana was trying to change things. I asked them to give her a chance." Hana stared at him. "You contacted our enemies?" "I contacted people who deserved to know that change was possible," Taeyang said. "I told them about you. About what you learned. About what the resonance core could do. And I asked them to come here. Not for war, but for peace." The lead ship opened a communication channel. On the screen appeared representatives from a dozen different species. One of them, a tall alien with blue skin, spoke. "We received a message from the humans," she said. "They told us Princess Hana had learned compassion. We didn't believe it. But we felt something just now. A broadcast of emotions." "Was that you?" "Yes," Hana said. "Then perhaps the humans were right," the alien said. "We came prepared for war. But we're willing to discuss peace. If you truly want change." Over the next week, everything shifted. Kyung-soo attempted a coup, rallying the old guard who couldn't accept the new way. There was fighting in the streets of the capital. Ships battled in orbit. For a moment, it looked like the Empire would tear itself apart, but then the humans arrived. Taeyang's message had reached further than Hana knew. Humans from across the galaxy came to help. They came not with weapons, but with aid. They helped Valorians who were wounded in the fighting. They offered food and shelter to those displaced by the battles. They showed, through actions, what Hana had been trying to teach through words. The old guard couldn't fight against that. How do you battle kindness? How do you destroy compassion? Slowly, the fighting stopped. Kyung-soo was captured after a final battle. He stood before Hana, defeated and humiliated. By law, she could execute him for treason. "Do it," he said tiredly. "I failed. I tried to preserve the Empire as it was, and I failed." Hana looked at her brother. Through the core, she felt his emotions: shame, fear, and underneath it all, a tiny seed of understanding. He had felt what she showed him. Part of him knew she was right, even if he couldn't accept it yet. No, Hana said. I'm not going to kill you. I'm going to give you a choice. Work with me to build something better. Or go into exile. Live your life however you want, as long as you don't hurt others. Kyung-soo stared at her in disbelief. You're sparing me? After everything I did? That's what mercy looks like, Hana said. The humans taught me that. The new Valorian Empire emerged slowly and imperfectly. The council was dissolved and replaced with representatives from all the species they had conquered. Laws were rewritten. Military forces were reduced. It was messy and chaotic, and nothing like the ordered empire that came before. But it was better. Hana ruled from the capital, but she returned to New Haven whenever she could. She needed to remember where she had learned these lessons. She needed to walk in the gardens and eat simple meals and be reminded of what really mattered. One evening, she found Taeyang planting new trees in the palace gardens. She had given him a position as cultural advisor, but he spent most of his time teaching Valorians how to garden. You know, you could just hire people to do this, Hana said, sitting beside him. Where's the fun in that? Taeyang replied, his hands covered in dirt. Hana picked up a seedling and helped him plant it. They worked in comfortable silence for a while. Do you regret it? Taeyang asked finally. Taking the throne? All this responsibility? Hana thought about the question. The resonance core pulsed gently inside her, connecting her to billions of beings across the galaxy. She felt their hopes and fears, their joys and sorrows. It was overwhelming and exhausting and wonderful. No, she said. I regret the person I was before, but I don't regret who I've become. Taeyang smiled at her. Good. Because the galaxy needs you. The galaxy needs humans, Hana corrected. You showed us there was another way. A better way. We showed each other, Taeyang said. He took her hand, dirt and all. That's what partnerships are. Above them, ships from 100 different worlds moved through the sky. Former enemies learning to work together. Former conquerors learning to build instead of destroy. It would take generations to heal all the wounds. Some wounds might never fully heal, but it was possible. Hana had proven that. The resonance core pulsed with warmth in her chest. It had amplified the compassion that Taeyang and his people had taught her. And that compassion was spreading, slowly but surely, across the entire empire. Thank you, Hana said quietly. For what? Taeyang asked. For showing me what real power looks like. Taeyang squeezed her hand. You already had it in you. You just needed someone to help you find it. As the sun set over the capital, Hana felt the core's energy flowing through her and out to the galaxy beyond. It was the power of connection, the power of understanding, the power of love. It was the power that would change everything. And it had all started in a human's heart.